When a major crime occurs, detectives immediately look for the most logical explanation. They look at the immediate family, financial gain, or an obvious target. But every so often, an investigation pulls back the curtain on a reality so bizarre, so completely twisted, that it defies human imagination. A world where the victim is actually the architect, a phantom is living in the floorboards, or a cold case is cracked by a secret diary. Today, we dive into 3 solved cases with the most insane twists you have ever heard, where the ultimate truth was stranger than fiction. In the winter of 1986, the Andrews family in Pepperell, Massachusetts, began experiencing terrifying anomalies inside their home. Objects would move across tables on their own. The television channels would suddenly switch in the middle of the night. Most unsettling of all, the 2 teenage daughters began hearing rhythmic, low tapping noises coming from deep inside their bedroom walls. They convinced their father the house was haunted, but the reality was infinitely worse than a ghost. The family left the house for a weekend to escape the stress. When they returned, the father walked into the master bedroom and froze. Standing in the center of the room, dressed in his wife's clothing and holding a heavy hatchet, was a pale, emaciated young man. It was 17-year-old Daniel LaPlante. For nearly a year, LaPlante had been living inside a microscopic crawlspace cavity hidden right between the walls of their home. He had been quietly slipping out at night to eat their food, watch them sleep, and deliberately drive them insane. The police captured LaPlante, and because he was a juvenile, he was sent to a youth facility. But the insane twist comes a year later. After being released on bail, LaPlante's obsession with home invasions escalated to an absolute peak of violence. He broke into the nearby home of the Gustafson family, where he brutally took the lives of a pregnant mother and her 2 young children. The boy, who police thought was just a strange suburban urban legend, turned out to be a full-scale serial killer hiding right behind the drywall. In May 2008, drivers on the busy M6 motorway in England witnessed an event that completely paralyzed traffic. 2 identical twin sisters from Sweden, Ursula and Sabina Eriksson, suddenly stepped out of a vehicle and deliberately sprinted directly into oncoming highway traffic. Ursula was struck full force by a massive semi-truck, pinning her legs under the tires. Seconds later, Sabina dashed across the asphalt and was plowed into by a speeding luxury sedan, flipping over the hood. When paramedics and police swarmed the highway, expecting to recover 2 bodies, the first insane twist occurred. Sabina stood straight up, completely unbothered by her injuries, and began fighting off 6 grown police officers with superhuman strength, screaming that they weren't real. Investigators realized they were witnessing folie à deux, rare psychological phenomenon where an intense, identical delusion is shared simultaneously by 2 minds, overriding all physical pain limits. The police took Sabina into custody, but because a medical evaluation cleared her of permanent psychiatric illness, she was released the very next day. This led to the ultimate, tragic twist. Wandering the streets of Stoke-on-Trent, Sabina met a kind stranger named Glenn Hollinshead, who offered her a safe place to stay for the night. Within hours, her shared delusion flared back up into a psychotic rage. She attacked Hollinshead without warning, taking his life before jumping off a 40-foot bridge to escape a reality that existed only in her mind. When 25-year-old marketing assistant Michelle Restivo went missing from her apartment in Anaheim, California, police immediately targeted her live-in boyfriend. He was the last person to see her alive. His alibi was thin, and friends noted they had been arguing intensely over their finances. Detectives were completely confident they had found their prime suspect until they pulled Michelle's laptop records. Deep within her hidden internet history, they discovered she had been placing highly specific ads on Craigslist. The ads asked for someone to stage a realistic, high-security abduction simulation for a cash reward, specifying that she wanted to be tied up, blindfolded, and transported to a remote location without her family knowing. Police assumed she had simply crossed paths with a predator who took the simulation too far. They tracked the IP address of the person who accepted the ad, leading them to a local IT technician. When tactical teams swarmed his residence, they found Michelle perfectly safe, locked inside a room, reading a magazine. The ultimate twist left the entire task force completely speechless. Michelle had completely fabricated her own kidnapping, hired an actor to hold her captive, and used a burner phone to send ransom notes to her own parents. all to test her boyfriend's loyalty and see how much money he would be willing to borrow from the bank to save her life. Her simulation turned into a federal fraud conviction, proving that the most terrifying plots are sometimes written by the victims themselves. 3 solved cases, 3 unbelievable breakdowns, and 3 twists that completely shifted the axis of justice. The files of true crime remind us that human behavior is never an exact science. Sometimes, the person hiding behind the wall isn't a ghost. The madness on a highway is a shared frequency, and the victim is pulling the strings. Which of these 3 twists caught you completely off guard? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications, and like this video so you never miss our next deep dive into true crime history. Stay safe out there.